I got here, I teach entrepreneurial journalism, and my students gave their business pitches Monday morning, and then I went to TechCrunch Monday afternoon, and then I flew here Monday night and arrived Tuesday morning and got here just in time to see President Sarkozy.
Did you have an agenda? Did you come here with an agenda? Do you want to ask people questions?
Yeah, I mean, I thought about it beforehand. Thought, what do I want to get out of this, and what message do I bring to this? It was actually Leo Laporte, who's the host of This Week in Tech, who was supposed to come, and only because we talked about it on air did I get invited. And Leo couldn't come, unfortunately, so I kind of felt some responsibility to think through what was here. And so I thought about the message about government and the internet and regulation.
And that made you want to come, or did it make you want to stay home?
It made me a little nervous about coming in terms of what was going to happen here, but I thought that I should see what was happening here and try to say what I have to say and listen and learn. I was glad that President Sarkozy said that he acknowledged that government doesn't own the internet. Nonetheless, he comes in to pretend to have the power to regulate the internet. And I think that's a question. Does he? Should he? Should the G8? And that's the question I think we still should be talking about. We shouldn't assume that government has this right and responsibility, because as the Chief Technical Officer of the Veterans Administration in the US says, the internet is an eighth continent. It's not part of this space. And so I asked President Sarkozy to get the G8 to take one simple pledge, a Hippocratic oath for the internet. First, do no harm. And he rather mocked that and said, well, is it harming you to protect your privacy and your security and your children? Well, on its face, no, it's not. But it depends on how you do it. And there are unintended consequences here. The internet is too new, too young to really know what it is yet. As someone said today, Lawrence Lessig said today, the future of the internet isn't here. They didn't know how to get invited. For all we know, they aren't born yet. And so to try to think that you can know what the internet is today and thus regulate it and thus control it, put a definition around it, is extremely dangerous to the growth of the internet and thus society. Well, there's absolutely a need for privacy. Privacy and publicness are not binary. They're not either or. They feed each other. We have our private thoughts that lead to our public sayings. We hear things in public that lead to our private thoughts. We need each, and we need both. My fear is that we talk so much about privacy, about fear of change, that we risk losing the opportunities that come from publicness. The internet is this magnificent tool of publicness, the best made since the Gutenberg press. It is a press for each of us. And if we clamp down too much about what it can do because of fears of what could happen, then we lose the opportunities that the internet has to bring us this tremendous voice. And so I want to emphasize that there are reasons to be public. I'm not suggesting everything should be public, but I've lived publicly. I've talked about my prostate cancer. You know, for a man to talk about his penis and what it doesn't do is very difficult, but I got great benefit back because people who've gone through this procedure before I did with prostate cancer told me things the doctor hadn't told me, gave me more information, gave me resources to go to. That all came because I was public about this otherwise embarrassing thing. And friends of mine said they got their prostate checked because they'd read me. Well, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been open. No harm came, only good came. And so in general, I think that I try to start now with the default of publicness, not with everything, but things that may be worthwhile to someone else. But I still have privacy. There are things I won't tell you, and yeah, I'm like a normal person. I would say the same thing to the G8 that I said to President Sarkozy, which is first, do no harm. Take the oath, the Hippocratic oath, which President Sarkozy said it was no problem to take, so we'll hold him to this now. And to think carefully about the implications and the consequences of the actions that you take. You know, there is need for government action in life. We already have laws that outlaw child pornography and theft and identity theft and things like that. We don't necessarily need new laws and new regulations just because the technology is new. At the same time, I would say that what this conference was to be about was the growth of the internet. So recognize those ways in which you protect not us from the internet, but you protect the internet from enemies, including government, so that it can grow and society can grow with it. I think that President Sarkozy filled a vacuum that was left by the people of the internet, the citizens of this eighth continent that we have here. And so I welcome that. I welcome the discussion. I think this discussion is important. But this is government's table. And government invited to its table business and some others. That's fine. But I think that we, the people of the internet, should be having our own discussions about the principles that we want to use to guide our view of how the internet operates and how government interacts with it and how business operates. And we haven't done enough of that. And I do not blame President Sarkozy for that. I blame us, people of the internet, for that. So I would hope that by next year, perhaps this inspires other people to gather in more ways and to better inform a gathering like this in a year. I don't want there to be a set of laws or a constitution about the internet. It's tempting, and I've thought about that. But what makes the internet is that it is ungoverned and ungovernable, that it is distributed and open, so no one person can shut it down. Though, of course, that did happen in Egypt. And so we have to tie to the principles here, and we have to believe the G8 should do this as well. That, for example, I think connectivity to the internet is now a human right, so that when it is cut off by the government of Egypt, a human right has been violated. And when we have those principles and know what's what, that's sufficient. Do I need one set of principles voted on and agreed by everyone? No, I would dread that because the negotiation would itself limit the internet. But we do need the discussion we've heard here, and it's very healthy, about what are those principles, what does the internet mean in our lives, and so we know what we're fighting for and what we protect.